Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Edwin McDougal. Man, that's off the list now.
That sounds like a legitimate name, though.
I know.
That sounds like a real person.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they sound like regular names. You know? You never know with me.
Wait, are you the creator of that god-awful movie with Jon Stewart called McDougal? Or is it just called... No, it's called Dougal. Fuck, I ruined my own joke.
Yeah, some of these are just regular names.
Have you ever heard or seen that movie before called Dougal?
No.
It's not good. It's from 2006. Man, I didn't just rattle that off. I'm actually on my phone.
I figured.
It's not good at all. I distinctly remember seeing it in the theater, I think with my mom. And yeah, it's yeah, and I think it was like a dubbed movie too, so
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, it is a very interesting movie because, like I said, Jon Stewart's in it. Hang on, let me see. Hang on,
is this before or after the Daily Show, or like while he's on the Daily Show?
Well, I mean, it was 2006.
Oh, 2006. So... Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's when he's on the Daily Show. That's so weird.
Yeah, here, let's see here. Yeah, let me... Actor... Dougal. Judi Dench is the narrator.
Perfect.
It's got Jimmy Fallon.
Uh-huh.
Oprah Winfrey. Or no, Whoopi Goldberg. William H. Macy. Chevy Chase. Ian McKellen. Kevin Smith. Bill Hader. Holy shit. John Krasinski. Jesus Christ. And that movie is not good at all. Future Rain, put up a picture of Dougal.
Yeah, go ahead. Is that your recommendation for this week?
Fuck no. No. I guess if I had a recommendation, because I was going to shoehorn this in.
Sure.
Ashley and I saw Wonka recently.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? It was a lot of fun. And apparently it's not just like a little like, oh hey, here's Willy Wonka, but starting out. It's like legitimately considered a prequel to the 71 Gene Wilder movie.
Interesting.
Because apparently it's set 25 years before those events. So it is a direct prequel to that one.
Huh.
Which this isn't a spoiler in any way, but if that's the case, there's a big disconnect between the two Wonkas. Because Timothy was great, especially being in a musical. So if anyone didn't know, that movie's a musical. I watched a video where someone was like, they didn't market it as a musical. And I was like,
and they won't.
It was marketed.
Yeah, they don't do that.
Well, the trailer I saw, it was a musical. So I don't know what the fuck they were talking about. But anyway. But his Wonka is very whimsical and very optimistic and very idealistic. And then Gene Wilder is a fucking psychopath. Like, now that's not to say I don't like Gene Wilder's Wonka, because I love Gene Wilder, but I think we can all agree his Wonka is a fucking psychopath. So it's like, what the fuck happened in the 25 years that turned him into this? But besides that, if you don't think about that, the implication, it's a good. It was a good movie. It was funny. It was, like I said, very whimsical. The musical aspect of it. I wasn't even doing a thumbs up.
You did a thumbs up, man. That's what happens when you do a thumbs up. You gotta quit doing that.
The musical part of it was good. The original songs were really good. And it was all around a really good, really fun movie. I would definitely go see it again. Timothy crushed it. because I'm pretty sure this is his first musical.
I would assume.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure here on the show we've spoken in plenty of Timothy's praise. So I mean,
Yeah. Chalamet's
anything
got
he
it, man.
does, I'm gonna go see. Yeah,
Yeah, I
whatever
mean,
it is, he's got it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, if it was good, relative to this recording, it's still in theaters. I'm sure it will still be in theaters. It's doing really well in the box office. So, yeah, if you want to go check it out, go check it out. But Jeremy, you also have a recommendation.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I wanted to get through that because I know you really wanted to talk about this.
yes. Okay. So last night, instead of recording because we had, the scheduling thing, and you had your plumbing thing.
Yeah.
I watched a movie instead. And I watched this film from 2010. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, which we're huge fans of here on Reservations.
Yes.
It is Incendies, and it is maybe, I mean, listen, we're about to talk about an incredible film that's astonishing in its techniques and its way of telling a story. This film, Incendies, was astonishing in a different way. It's unforgiving. It's brutal. It's unapologetic, and it's amazing. My jaw was on the floor at the end, and I can't stop thinking about it. I told our buddy Zach. I texted him immediately. I said, "You got to see this movie," And I knew you were watching The Wolf House, so I didn't want to bother you. But he stayed up until like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning watching it, and he texted me and he was like, "Oh my god, like that's like top tier for him now." I mean, it's like up there, like top 5, top 2 maybe for him right now. So it's incredible. So if you haven't seen it, don't look anything up. Just go in blind as you can. Incendies is incredible, and this is a post, or no, I'm sorry, a pre American filmmaking for Denis Villeneuve. And I've
So
seen
this is before he
Polytechnic,
did
which is another.
Enemy.
Yeah, I've seen the Polytechnic, which is another film he did um, in Canada, and it's also incredible. But Incendies, man, it'll blow you away. It is amazing. You gotta see it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely try to carve out some time to see it. Yeah, because as we've clearly stated numerous times, we're big fans of Denis. I mean, can't wait March for Dune Part 2.
Yep. Yeah, I know.
Um,
Again, Timothy
I'm
Chalamet and Denis Villeneuve. Look at that. We tied it
yeah,
together. We nailed it.
yeah. Well, and then of course, eventually we'll do, 2-parter Blade and Blade Runner 2049.
Yep.
Because what Denis did with the Blade Runner universe is it's incredible.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
the more I can ingest of Denis, I think is great.
I think this is a good reason, by the way. It's not practical, nor is it like financially responsible, but it's fun when it works. When it works, it's fun to just, you're interested in a movie and you see it like out in a store somewhere, just buy it, don't think about it, and then don't even watch it right away. Just have it on your shelf. I've had it on my shelf for like 2 years, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you know what? Let me check this out. And again, it completely blew me away. And now I'm just stoked that I own it. You know what I mean? So it's
Well,
a
I mean,
fun reason to
it's
blind
like
buy.
a lot of these. Well, it's like a lot of these criterions behind my head. Most of these I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I read the description, recommendations from you, from the Criterion Closet videos, and I was like, eventually I will watch them.
Yeah. And when you're ready to just pull it off the shelf and watch it, and and it's incredible and it's amazing and you love it, you're just like, oh my, it's even that much better.
Yeah.
When it works.
Yeah, that you
Sometimes it
actually
doesn't.
own it.
Not all the time. Doesn't work like
Yeah.
that all the time, but sometimes it does, and it's when it works, and it's awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so now before we get started on the episode, so Jeremy, like you mentioned, we are putting this episode out a little later than normal. Both the audio and the video are coming out on Wednesday. Yeah, I had some scheduling issues with work, and then Ashley and I's apartment had some plumbing issues, so unfortunately the movie was not my priority
Sure, makes sense.
Sunday or Monday. Especially because I'm kind of glad we did decide to wait, because had I tried to rush this movie, I don't think I would have been able. I don't think I would have been fully ready to talk about it, which I was going to wait to say this now. I'm worried I'm not going to be able to add a lot, just because
It's
I
okay.
do have a ton of questions.
That's okay. I think I have enough for us to chew on, because
Okay.
I was typing stuff on my phone while I was watching it, trying to, because I still wanted to be fully immersed in it and read everything. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
trying to do that, and then at work, while no one was looking, I was watching videos. I was looking up like interviews. I was and then taking notes on a piece of printer paper, so I have that in front of me. So I think we got some stuff that we can talk about for sure.
Yeah. But you already said the title, but
Yes.
just in case anyone missed that, Jeremy, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are discussing, I have right here, Joaquin Cosina and Cristobal Leon's La Casa Lobo, or in English, The Wolf House.
Yeah. So I remember you telling me about this movie. I think it was for one of the bonus episodes. We were just kind of throwing out some recommendations. No. Or was it recommendations? I don't remember. We were doing something, and you had brought this movie up. And like I said in our tease last week, when I had to find the poster for that episode, I was like, I really like the poster, because I'm a sucker for a good poster artwork. Well, artwork in general, like album artwork, movie artwork.
Mhm.
But I was just like, that's really cool. And of course, you've never really led me astray with good recommendations.
I try not
And
to.
so I told myself, I was like, I'll remember it and I'll watch it sometime. I forgot.
Sure.
But as soon as you sent me your list for this season and I saw it on there, I was like, that's that movie. Okay, cool. Now I'll have an excuse to watch it.
Yeah.
And man, starting off with first impressions,
Sure.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
By the sheer technicality of the movie. Which we'll get to, but I was telling Ashley about it when we went to go get dinner. I was telling her about it because I was also telling her I was worried that I'm not going to be able to contribute much. But I was saying, how this stop motion is non-traditional, but at the same time still very traditional.
Mhm.
And she was like, well, how so? And I was like, well, they painted an entire room and painted the characters,
Yeah.
and they moved, and that was stop motion. And she was like, what do you mean? It was like, that's all I can say. They painted an entire room. And it just, yeah. So starting off with that, I love that.
Yeah.
Story wise, it's a little hard for me to say about that, because
It's okay.
this, I think, was the first foreign.
We're gonna talk all about it. So don't you worry
Okay.
about that.
Well, so first impressions, I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you said it in that bonus episode, but how did you come across this movie?
Great question. I don't remember, and I didn't go back to that bonus episode, so I don't know. But I think, if I remember correctly, it was a list of some sort. I'm sure that someone was talking about like really interesting avant-garde films or really interesting disturbing films or like non-traditional films you need to see or something like that. And then it was on there. And I was interested
Uh,
immediately and I was desperate to find it. I found a DVD copy on Amazon. Thank God. I don't think they're available anymore. Um, and I remember the first time I watched it. I was a little tipsy, and I threw it on. And again, same as you. I mean, I'm completely blown away by the artistry, by the techniques, by this multimedia stop motion film. And to say it's non-traditional is sort of like an understatement because what these guys are doing with
yeah.
stop motion is incredible. And again, we'll get to it because it is a large part of this film is how it's done and how it's put together and what they're doing and um even just the simple fact that, and you may not even think about it at first, but what they're doing is so much harder than it has to be because they're showing you how it's done. Meaning, they could have
Hmm.
just painted the room before they took the picture, but what they're doing is they're painting a line, taking a picture, painting a line, taking a picture, painting a line, taking a picture, so you can see the progression of the room being painted, right? So again,
Hmm.
what they're doing is so much harder than it has to be, but it's done intentionally, right? And it's all about, showing you this transformation and this change and how it's all done on camera. And like our previous episode, The Celebration, with Dogma 95, they had rules that they had to follow. So did
Hmm.
these guys. They have rules, and we'll go over those in a minute. But I think where we need to start um, with the Wolf House is not only do we need to talk about the story as a whole, I can go over real quick the synopsis, um,
Okay.
which, so I guess I can do that real quick. So Maria
Okay.
is a young girl in a colony. It's sort of a cult-ish colony. Um, she is punished by or sentenced to 100 days of silence because she was playing with the pigs and then let them escape, right? Instead of enduring the 100 days of silence, she escapes into the woods and she finds a house. In the house, there are the pigs that she let loose. She decides she's going to be a mother to these pigs. And with a magic ball and and some well wishes, they become real live children. And um, they know they cannot leave the house because a wolf is outside the house that is looking for Maria and looking to take her back to the colony. Um, as time goes on, she is a great mother to these children, and she is taking very good care of them, and they become a nice, happy family. However, eventually, there are some mishaps. There's a fire. The children are badly burned and injured. She gives them the honey from the colony that we see a commercial for at the very beginning of the film. And the honey makes them better. But not only does it make them better, but it changes their appearance, and that's very important. Um, After a while, the food starts to run out, and the children become menacing and evil, and they take over the house and they overpower Maria, and they're going to eat Maria. The wolf tells Maria that, or she begs the wolf to save her, and
Hmm.
as he does, he says he was in her all along, and he was always there, waiting for her to ask for his help to come back. He saves Maria. Maria goes back to the colony, and the wolf um, saves the day. And he asks us, the audience, now that you've seen what I've done for Maria, would you like me to take care of you? And that's the Wolf House. So, all right. what do you need to know to understand all of that and why any of that matters? Well, our directors are Chilean, and that's very important. This story takes place in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important. Why does that matter? Well, there is a gentleman. His name is Paul Schrader. Okay? Paul Schrader was a Nazi. After the war, Paul Schrader moved to Chile. While he was in Chile, he created the Colonia Dignidad. Okay? The Colonia Dignidad was a colony and a cult that he ran with an iron fist.
Mm-hmm.
And the atrocities and the war crimes that were happening in the Colonia Dignidad was unspeakable and terrible and awful, right? He is a Nazi after all.
Yeah.
And so our two filmmakers decide to tell a story of the powers of the Colonia Dignidad, and this is going. And I didn't understand this the first time I watched it. Okay, the first time I watched it, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what was going on. Why it was so important that the wolf was the hero at the end. That was so bizarre to me. I didn't understand it. But they thought, what if the Colonia Dignidad needed some sort of way to reach another audience? What if Paul Schrader was a sort of Walt Disney type and he wanted to make a fairy tale? What would that look like? How would the story go?
Okay.
Right? And so knowing that unlocks everything. Okay?
Yeah, it 100% does.
Because now I understand what's going on. I understand why Maria is successful at getting away from the colony at the beginning and in the middle, but at the end, of course, everything starts to fall apart and she needs rescuing. And the wolf was always there, right, to help her. And it's very cultish to say that I was always there within you when you were ready to admit that you needed me, right? It's all brainwashing. It's all just taking control of another person for personal gain, right?
Right.
Okay. So there are things that now we can expand a little bit, because now with the artistry, there are several indications to say that this is what's happening, and there's a lot of Nazi symbolism in the art, and it's blink and you'll miss it a lot of the times. My favorite one, and it's the most blatant, is in the very beginning. Maria goes into the house, and we're starting to get house stuff painted on the walls. When the window is being painted on the wall, for a split second, it's a swastika before it finishes being a window. I know. Yeah. And again, that stuff is important, and it matters why these guys have decided to have the painting being presented on screen so you can see things in progress, right? So you can get some more imagery like that, and you can get this sort of sense of I don't know, the change and transformation. It's so brilliant. These guys are amazing. It's also my understanding that during the filmmaking, a lot of times it was an open art display. People can come and see it while they were working on it, which is really interesting. That's something that I thought I heard him say in an interview, and I was like, did I mishear that? It's an open art display? Like, and it's an installation, which is crazy, which is very cool, because it took them 5 years to finish this movie.
Okay.
And it's so obvious why, because it's just so much work,
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, so speaking about what you just said
Sure.
about essentially this is sort of like a hypothetical, what if there was a propaganda piece?
I'm really, by the way, I really
That
hope
makes
I hope I said Paul Schaefer, not Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader is a
I think
filmmaker. Paul Schaefer is this horrible, evil, nasty guy. That needs to. I'm
God,
sorry.
could you
I
imagine
wasn't.
if you said Paul Schrader?
If I said Paul Schrader, I'm sorry. It's Paul Schaefer in my notes. I'm looking right at it, but the A is an umlaut. Anyway, um,
I I think you said Schaefer.
let's hope so. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, but yeah, but knowing that makes so much sense because you know I didn't catch it initially until about middle of the movie. When we hear the wolf speaking, he's occasionally speaking German.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that
And
up because this time, the first time I'm just reading, right? I'm not listening, and
uh-huh.
so this time I was listening, and Maria speaks German too sometimes. In the very
Mm-hmm.
beginning, she speaks German to the pigs, but she's speaking Spanish about the pigs, right? So if she's talking to them, it's to
Mm,
German because they're German pigs, because they're part of
right.
this Colonia Dignidad, right? Which isn't
Yeah.
explicitly said, much like the wolf isn't explicitly Paul Schaefer, but it is, right? Um,
Yeah. It makes
Incredible
sense.
stuff.
But yeah, I was like, why is he speaking German? And then
Mhm.
that's when I looked it up. Like I paused, looked it up, and learned a little bit about the colony. And so I just assumed, okay, this colony spoke both uh, Chilean, Spanish, and German.
Mhm.
So I just kind of was like, oh, okay, that's why. Which
Sure.
I mean, still could also be why, but again, knowing that this is a hypothetical propaganda piece
Mhm.
makes so much more sense
Yeah.
for the wolf to be speaking German.
Yeah, it would be one thing for this film to be presented the way it is already and just have it be a a metaphor or an analogy about the Colonia Dignidad and not even have it be propaganda for them, right? I think that adds an extra layer to
Mm-hmm.
it, but it would have worked anyway if it were just an indictment on the colony, but instead they
Right.
chose to have it be a a like like you said, like propaganda for the Colonia Dignidad. It's some like multi-level thinking that you really have to do because you have to show some atrocities. You have to show that the wolf is a menacing evil figure, but you also have to have them be a hero, right? You have to have him save the day. You have
Mm-hmm.
to have him be sort of this enduring figure as well, which is a very fine line to balance. Um, and it's incredible to watch. Uh, and
Yeah.
the fact that, again, like they showed clips of them during one of the interviews I was watching, working on the set. I'm like, this, oh my, it's just so much work, like watching them do it in real time, just like painting a line. I'm like, oh my God, like it must have taken so long. They said if
Yeah.
they were lucky,
Uh,
they got 30 seconds a day, but that only happened once. Usually it was about 10 seconds a day. There we go.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So, well, and for context, here, let me hang on. For context, everyone's listening. Zach, um, let's see here. Um, I was gonna look it up. Like the common, um,
Oh, like what really? I think that's pretty
one,
common.
yeah, like 1 minute, um, in like traditional stop motion. I was trying to see like what what that equated to.
Yeah, I don't know.
My
I would
hair. How long?
assume it's pretty common to get less than 30 seconds a day, but I don't know. But they're working at like
Um,
massive scale, right?
yeah, yeah. So someone's saying 1 minute in like a traditional stop motion, 12 to 15 days.
Okay, see, there you
So, so yeah, I would say then probably then in comparison, a traditional stop motion can do about 30 seconds. Well, no, 10 seconds makes a lot of sense. But was it just them, or did they have a team of animators
I don't know
or a
because they
team
made
of?
it seem like it was just those two guys, and I'm like, for real, guys? Because
I
like
mean, that would be even more impressive that
I doubt it was
they.
just them. Again, it was just them in the interviews, and they weren't really talking about like the actual process of doing it. They were just, talking about generic, like the work and generically this
Mhm.
and, you know, this and that and whatever, and the story and their rules, which I'll go over in a minute. Um, but they really didn't go over like who was working on what, right? I saw them in
Right.
like painters' outfits working, but that's,
No.
no.
Um, well, this is a good transition to, sorry, the different types of mediums that are in this movie. Um, have we done a stop motion film yet? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I don't think
I
so,
don't
but I
think
could be
so.
wrong.
Nope. Yeah, we have
Oh,
Anomalisa.
Anomalisa. Duh. God, I love that movie. You're right. We've done Anomalisa.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So with ones like that, or when you typically think of stop motion, you think of claymation. Uh, and going into this, I knew that you'd said they use paper mache, but I was not expecting paint.
Right.
You know, the the fact that for the first, you know, not including the the prelude at the beginning of the movie,
Mm.
like the first 5 minutes of Maria entering the house is them just painting, and she's painted on the wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, is this going to be the movie? I thought Jeremy said it was paper mache, but they go back and forth between that.
Mm.
And then later on, the paper mache turns into little felt dolls.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening? But again, it still blew me away
Yeah.
because, yes, you know, when a filmmaker wants to make a stop motion film, yes, it takes time. And yes, there is a ton of artistry that goes into it. Shout out to any of the films from Leica Studios.
Yeah.
And there's still so much artistry and so much to bring this to life, but like seeing it like this, I was like, this is on a whole other level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I know. It's incredible to look at.
but I guess it makes sense also because, like you said, they did kind of make their jobs a little harder for themselves, but they kind of were able to make it easier because since they were doing paper mache, they didn't have to make their mouths move.
Yeah, no one had to match mouths moving or anything like that. I don't even think when they were painting they were doing that. That wasn't really important. I think
Yeah.
like all right. So some of the techniques I found most impressive, the ones where I was like, I can't believe they thought of this. It's genius. One of them is having Maria on a glass pane in front of the camera so she can interact with three-dimensional objects around her. So the
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, again painted on a glass pane, and that's being manipulated with stop motion, right? But then she's interacting with things around her, that are, full size things that are, with the forced perspective, she can interact with things around the room, which is amazing, right? Any time a
Yeah.
painting interacted with a three-dimensional object, I thought was incredible, like the pigs playing with the magic ball on the
Yeah.
floor. was just tremendous. Like, I don't, you know, um, anytime they had to manipulate a life-size paper mache object, I thought was incredible, because anytime they're having to move, we're seeing the process of how they would do that. So, well, we'd have to move them over here, but we had to take their arm off, so let's put that right back on. And then we're watching the process of the arm like materialize on them, right?
Yeah.
And then once it's there, it's painted, right? And then it's repainted and repainted to match the skin tone. And then if the head moves, same thing. Well, we since we turned her head this way, we need to paint this side of her head. So let's paint this side of her head. And let's, oh, nope, that's not the right pigment. Let's do it again, right? And it's all happening before your eyes. It's incredible. And I saw a video, and I don't like that they talked about the supports, like the clear plastic supports. They called them mistakes. I don't like that, because it's obviously not a mistake. Like, they're like, if it was a mistake, they would just take it out, you know?
Right.
They're 100% there on purpose. They're just showing you what it takes to keep this mannequin that they've created in that position. You know, they're propping it up with these supports, and like, that's okay. You know, it's not a mistake. They did it on purpose. So I didn't like that. But
I thought that was really cool. You know,
of course.
You know, because again, you know, it's, you know, going back to traditional stop motion, you know, most caricatures have, you know, armature in them. That way they can bend their arms the way they need them, or their heads. With paper mache, it's, I would assume, not impossible, but harder
And, you know,
to do
honestly,
that. So, I mean,
I said the term paper mache, which is probably wrong, because I don't think they're dipping fabric in any sort of coating and putting it on. They're just creating these things out of like paper and tape. You know, it just kind of resembles paper mache.
yeah.
It might not. Again, it might not be. There was a moment in this film that used an element from real life that I couldn't believe, and it was almost like an inside, like an inside joke that's not funny. Like, it's not like a joke, but it's like an inside thing that only I knew about, which is the crying boy painting. So in the fire scene, things have caught on fire, okay? And so the black smoke and the, you know, the Ana and Pedro are engulfed in the smoke and the fire. There is a painting on the wall, and it is called the Crying Boy painting, okay? And there is a legend about this painting in real life, that if you had a copy of this painting in your house is going to catch on fire. It has happened several times, that I know of, that is in this urban legend, that it's happened several times, and the painting never catches on fire, but the house does. And so the fact that it was they put it in the movie, and I'm like, what are we doing? This is incredible, you know, like, because I knew about it beforehand.
Yeah.
It was just so cool, because I like stories about like cursed artwork and things like that. And I just couldn't believe it was in the movie. It was so cool. And I think it might even be a Chilean piece of art, which makes sense.
I just looked it up. It's Italian.
Italian. Thank you.
Or hang on, let me make sure I read that right.
But it's real.
Yeah, because I was curious about it. So, yeah, Crying Boy painting, by Italian painter Giovanni Brogolin. This was his pen name of the painter Bruno Amarillo. or I'm sure it'd be Amarillo.
Amarillo, yeah.
Um,
It's yellow.
but yeah, there's yeah. There are numerous alternative versions, all portraits of tearful young boys or girls, and then also a urban legend. So
yeah, so I thought that was really
yeah,
cool.
that's well. See, and I wouldn't have known.
Dude,
Um,
it would have elevated
again,
your experience. So it's just it's crazy, like, I don't know, man, this movie's got it all. Um in like reading little blurbs about this film, like, I'll tell you the one on the DVD box right now. Powerful and uniquely disquieting cinema. That that to me is so underwhelming and doesn't even scratch the surface of what these people just watched, right? Like, there's
right,
no quote on this planet Earth that will describe to you what I just saw. Because what I just saw was art in its purest form, in its most raw, in its most personal. Like, these guys just put their entire being into this thing while telling us a story about an important time in their country's history. It's just astonishing. I don't know. Like, there's no movie like this, man. Even their short films aren't this good, you know?
Well, and and again, now knowing the context,
Mm-hmm.
because again, I went into this not really knowing anything about it, and even looking up, I didn't do enough of a deep dive. I did read that Paul Schaefer um was a monster,
Yeah.
and that he was I think they did take him to trial in the 60s.
Was he part of the
But I
Nuremberg
didn't go
trials?
any deeper than
I
that.
don't know if he was. That'd be cool if he was part of the
I
Nuremberg
don't
trials.
remember.
Um, that I'm unaware of.
But but um but yeah, man, just the sheer artistry, and also it was a little creepy to watch at night.
Oh yeah.
Uh Ashley had gone to bed. And I'm watching it on TV, and all we have lit in the living room was the Christmas tree.
Uh,
And I've got darkness behind me, and I can look into our bedroom and see darkness. And I was just like, I don't know if I should be watching this right
well,
now.
and that brings up a good point because this movie can be described as a horror film, and I think it does get there at certain points, especially when the children turn on Maria. But I
Mhm.
think just how it looks, it's creepy because it's uncanny, right? A lot of the time that we get these,
Yeah.
like when Pedro is being formed for the first time, it's sort of uncanny because it's just this close, you know. Um,
Hmm.
and this will bring up a good um, this will bring up a good segue into what initially I didn't really pay attention to is when Maria gives them the honey. So let me okay. So first off, I had forgotten about the thing in the beginning. I'd forgotten about that the propaganda like
Yeah.
PSA about the honey in the beginning. I'd forgotten. And then when she gives them
Almost like a tourist trap kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it almost reads as like all I guess like almost like a charity, you know? Um
Yeah.
but or you're right, like tourism, right? That's what it felt like. Um which again, brilliant on their part for getting us in the mindset of like the colony is a good place to be. And it's good for Chile and it's good for Chileans. And it's it's where people need to be, right? But
Mm.
she gives Pedro and Anna the honey, and dude, their hair and eye color change, and I didn't even like pick up on that's important. Like they become Aryan by taking the
Oh
honey
yeah.
because they're no longer black haired and brown eyed. Now they're blonde haired and blue eyed, and I didn't even pick up on that the first time. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? There's just like it's so obvious. Um, but again, the honey is fulfilling, and it comes from the colony, which is a good place, and um, this will heal you and fulfill you and make you whole and make you who you need to be, um, and a better version of you. Uh,
Right.
and just by changing their hair and eyes. And Pedro's wearing lederhosen. Other than that, um, which
Yeah.
I mean, which that's obvious. I mean, it's like he's wearing lederhosen. That's so bizarre. But you're distracted by other bizarre things happening that you're just sort of going with it. And again, I think it takes non-native speakers a few extra tries at this to get it because if I spoke Spanish, I would have picked up on he's speaking German the first time because I would have been like, oh, he's not speaking the language I know anymore. And again, if I spoke Spanish and knew a little German, I'd just be able to just be fixated on the images instead of like having to look down every once in a while to read the subtitles. Um,
Yeah. I stopped for a few scenes. I was like, I need to be paying attention to what's going on.
yeah.
Like I can just draw from context clues what's going on.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah, it is. See, man, so I'm glad we do this show because yeah, like you said, that unlocks everything.
Yeah.
And everything kind of comes into focus now.
Well, and
knowing
I only knew that because of the interview that I saw them give, and I forgot which one it was, because I can barely pronounce either their names, and like I don't know them, so I don't know which one is which. But yeah, they were like, imagine Paul Schaefer made this as a fairy tale to show to the colony, right? And I'm like, imagine Paul Schaefer made it? What are we talking about? And then I think about it again, and it makes so much sense. I would have never thought of that ever.
Yeah. Now something that you've been implying at a lot, much like our celebration episode. Shout out to the celebration. Is that they followed rules with this?
Yeah.
So, what were these rules, Jeremy?
I will tell you. So there are 10 rules. Okay. Number 1.
Oh, just like Dogma 95.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if they had heard of it. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah.
All right. Number 1. This is painting on camera. Okay. Number 2.
Okay.
There are no puppets. Number 3. Everything can be transformed as a sculpture. Number 4. There is no fade to black. Number 5. This movie is a long sequence shot. Number 6. Color is symbolic. Number 7. Wait. Yes. The movie tries to be normal. Number 8. The camera never stands still between frames. Number 9. Maria is beautiful. Number 10. It is a workshop, not a film set. There you
go. Well, number 10 also unlocks, I'm going to use your word, unlocks everything. Because, yeah, everything is in constant motion. Everything. The furniture, the tables, the walls, everything is constantly in motion like a workshop.
The camera's constantly moving, and that's something that you notice right off the bat, that the camera never stands still. it also might take you a minute to realize that we're not fading to black, or we're not cutting, we're not doing hard cuts, we're not changing angles, or just the camera's
Mm-hmm.
flowing, right? Um, of course, being stop motion, you know, literally that's not true, but you can make it seem like it's just like the camera's constantly moving, and we're not going to cut. We're just going to keep a tracking shot, um, which I thought
Mm-hmm.
was extremely effective. Um, I don't know. This movie would be totally different with angle changes and hard cuts and fading to black, which would be really strange. Um,
I agree. Because I don't know why. Again, so don't ask me. I don't know why, but my brain went to, because I was trying to draw a comparison to another stop motion film.
good luck.
My brain went to Corpse Bride for
Okay.
some reason. Had they done a lot of those shots, like, one of the early shots in Corpse Bride is, we have a sweeping shot of the town that they live in, and then we hard cut into a horse carriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think a shot like that would have really worked. Not necessarily specifically that kind of shot, but we get a swooping shot and then we hard cut to somewhere else. I
Yeah.
agree with what you're saying. I don't think shots like that would have worked in a film like this, especially with the story that they were telling.
Well, and the long sequence shot and the camera never stands still between frames. I mean, those sort of like, well, if these are rules, then we can't, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they all work to serve the same purpose. Um, I wish they would expand more on the color. Like, why is Maria's dress blue? Why is her hair yellow? And why are her lips red? Right? It all matters,
Right.
right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wish I knew. I wish I knew more about that. I wish they would expand on it. But then again, now I have an excuse to watch it again. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
I want to know more about this, but I like the way that I can just watch it again and let's just try again, because I'm not going to get bored of it. Um, this is a
Uh,
film that demands multiple viewings, even if you spoke the language.
mm-hmm.
Even if you knew about Paul Schaefer, even if you knew about the Colonia Digadad, I think it's still like, you need all this.
So can I tell you something that I really, really liked that really had nothing to do with the plot?
Sure.
Um, I loved in the scene where the house catches on fire, watching the candle melt, and then it's back up, and then it melts again, and it's back up because of because I'm sure they were letting a real candle burn while they were taking their photos for each sequence.
I have no
Like,
doubt.
well, this one melted down, stick a
Well,
new one in,
there's
and
that.
it
Go ahead.
was so cool.
Yeah, because there's
I
that
was just that's
scene.
all I was gonna say. It was just so cool.
Well, the scene with the bird in the cage has
Mm-hmm.
that sequence of the candles, you know, burning all the way down and popping back up again. Right? There's a lot of that
Yeah.
in that sequence. Um, and the bird in the cage, God, I mean, it's just so good. It's a real bird. I'm almost 1,000% sure that was a real bird.
I'm pretty sure because it was moving very
Yeah.
even more erratically than a stop motion would.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a real bird.
Yeah,
Well, and
and
if like what you said, it being a real art installation, it would make more sense for it to be a real bird.
yeah, um, yeah. I'm just blown away by this whole movie. I'm blown away by. I guess while thinking about it, I was like, why am I so impressed by this? And I think it's just because, like, the average person doesn't have this kind of time to do this, to put their entire
Yeah.
selves into something and stick with it, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, I could probably be fully jazzed about this for like maybe a few months, but 5 years? Imagine working on something for 5 years and not know if people are going to like it, if it's going to work, if it's going to make any sort of sense, if what they're putting together is making the same sort of sense that they thought of when they first came up with the idea. If even having these symbols and in this analogy and or this um this like quasi propaganda piece, like, is that going to work, is that going to translate, right? You don't know. For
Mm-hmm.
5 years you don't know. it's
Yeah.
it's just incredible, the whole thing, and you have to do it all in sequence because you can't go back. I don't think they went back to reshoot stuff.
Yeah.
It's too late.
I Yeah, because I mean, even when watching all the scenes when they were painting the walls, like, I mean, yeah, you have to go back, like when they're repainting the hands that are moving across the wall. Like, I mean, yeah, sure, you're repainting the hand move, but I feel like it would take more time. Like, no, we messed that up. We got to go back and we got to start from one. So
Dude,
I
I
don't know.
can't even imagine if they had to do that. And it's sort of like then you have to remember where the camera was in that position, you know? Um, because the
Mm-hmm.
camera's moving. Every time they take a picture, it moves. So it's, I mean, everything is just in constant motion, in constant transformation, constant change. Um, it is just a marvel. I'd love to see more of this. Um, if they started working on something right after this, we'd get one soon. But I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever do something like this again. Who knows? I don't really know anything about them besides this.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
if I put 5 years of my life into a project, like I don't know if I could do it. Look at Linklater. He did that with Boyhood,
yeah, that's true.
and now he's doing it again with his adaptation of Merrily We Roll Along, which is even longer. It's like 20 years that he's setting time aside to make this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
Well, that blew
So,
me. Well, Boyhood blew me away too for the same reason because of just the amount of time it takes. Right?
mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
It's hard to comprehend.
me personally, if I had the drive to make a film that was going to take me 5 years, um, I would probably stick it out. Like, I'm going to get this done. But then after that, I would be like, I'm not doing that again. That's a one off.
Yeah.
Um,
You're right.
but then again, definitely future episode. That's what Peter Jackson said about the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He was never going to do anything like that again, and then he did it again.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different story. That whole production it'll
Yeah.
never happen again. It can never be replicated. It's just a flash in the pan. Like,
Yeah.
he got so lucky. um,
Yeah.
to be able to, in the
Yeah,
studios, I
man.
mean, like,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so I applaud these guys for writing it out for 5 years, because you're right. I don't think there will never be another movie like this.
No.
There will probably be stabs at trying to recreate this, you know, uh, this is so cliche, but the biggest form of flattery is
It's imitation.
what is it is
Yeah,
imitation.
imitation.
So yeah, I'm sure someone out there will be inspired by this and want to try something similar,
Definitely.
but it won't be the same. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
I think this is one of those rare, once in a lifetime kind of movies.
I agree.
And I don't,
I agree.
and I don't think we talk about those enough on the podcast, mainly because I just think these types of films are harder to find.
Yeah. Where did you watch this, by the way?
Because they Tubi for free.
Cool. Nice.
So probably should say that at the top of the show. If you've made it this far, thank you.
Well, we
if
did.
you do want to watch
I made
this,
sure last time I said where you can find it
that's
because
right. Yeah,
it's it's hard.
right.
I think you could also rent it on YouTube.
Right, yeah,
whatever. I mean, like
yeah,
I would avoid even the possibility of ads at all cost.
Yeah,
Like it's not worth
the ads didn't throw off the
you had
the
ads.
flow at all for me. Yeah, Tubi has ads.
Fuck.
But there was one part that was actually just kind of funny. It was where it was ramping up. I could tell the tone of the film was ramping up.
Mhm.
And it cut to an ad, an Old Navy ad with Natasha Lyonne.
Of course.
And I couldn't help but laugh. Because I was like, oh, shit's about to go down. I can feel it. Like I can tonally, it's pointing that way. And then you just hear Natasha Lyonne talking about deals at Old Navy.
Oh my god, I can't imagine such a horrible viewing experience.
Thankfully Tubi only plays like one ad and then it goes right back.
Okay.
So as were YouTube, if anyone watches on YouTube, YouTube's getting awful about that.
Well, you can rent it on YouTube.
Or
so I think
if
you rent it, I think you can get the whole thing all. How movies should.
Or I think you can find it on. Or I think you can find it on Apple.
Okay.
Rent it or buy it on Apple. Here,
okay, they definitely do that if you have.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because I think that's what. Yeah, you can. It's $10. $10 on Apple.
Worth it.
So.
Worth it.
There we go.
We
solved it. There we go, guys.
Yeah, man. Because again,
but
shit, I love this movie.
Yeah, it's again. I said it already, but it is definitely a once in a lifetime type of film. I think it's one that everyone should experience. Even if you don't like avant-garde films, which one day we will do The Color of Pomegranates because I really want to watch that movie and I want to talk about it.
Yep.
But even if you don't like avant-garde films, I feel like this is just one that everyone needs to see. Like, if you don't like foreign films, that's fine. Like me, don't read it, just watch it. Because it's a sight to behold. Even if you don't understand what's happening, just the sheer artistry, which I think we've talked about enough, but the sheer artistry alone is worth the hour and 13 minutes. Barely any time out of your day to watch it.
Yeah, it's sort of like I would equate this film in not only its sort of ambition and its uniqueness, but also in its runtime, which is It's Such a Beautiful Day. I mean, do a double feature. I think you'll have a fun time because
hell yeah.
I mean, It's Such a Beautiful Day is one of my favorite films of all time. And
hell yeah. A double feature, one a propaganda film and one that's going to just completely obliterate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of fun. Do a double feature. You can even pick whichever one you want before the other one. It doesn't matter. But I mean, this film is just incredible. I can't sing its praises enough, and there's not enough hours in the day to talk about our favorite things that they achieved, with paint or with their sculptures or even within the stop motion itself. I mean, they've reinvented the wheel with stop motion, in my opinion, and they have shown you there is so much you can do with stop motion, and there's so much you can do with story and blending mediums to tell one story. It's just
100%.
There's no one like these guys. They're geniuses. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah. I'd love to see what they do next. Maybe I don't know. Maybe doing something more traditional, but this is This movie was it was awesome. And again, as I kind of stated throughout this episode, is you don't really need to know. I mean, it's good if you know the history of what story they're telling, but I mean, you don't need to know the history to appreciate what they're doing.
That's true. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, if you want to understand the story they're telling, then
does it make it way less confusing? The history. Yeah, it makes it way less confusing.
100%.
I mean, you watch this blind like I did the first time, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. I loved it, but I don't understand. That just happened. And now once it's just like, got it, and it's even better. And what's even crazier is even the rules elevate the movie. Even knowing what the rules are elevates it to a higher level.
100%.
My favorite is number 9. Maria is Beautiful. I don't know why that gives me chills. I like that that's a rule. I like that it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be important. And I don't know, that strikes me as so interesting, and I don't know, it's sort of wonderful. I don't know, I like that. That was a steadfast rule for this.
Yeah. Well, it is a very interesting rule to put in place, but yeah. Well, Jeremy, I think we've wrapped up enough. But just to double down.
Sure.
I mean, it's common knowledge that when we do an episode, we're telling everyone to go check it out.
Definitely.
But definitely check this out. It's one of a kind. I don't think anyone would regret it. I mean, if you don't like avant-garde films or foreign films, then then maybe this isn't for you. But if you're willing to try, I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree.
Yeah.
All right. So you have to, we will say that we do have a special Christmas episode coming after this.
Yes.
That we've already done.
It is technically a bonus episode.
Technically.
But you technically.
Right. But
yes.
What are we doing after the Christmas episode?
Well, Jeremy, I'm going to let you decide. So if you don't like it, then it's your fault.
You're right.
So,
okay.
So you have 1, 2, or 3.
Let's go 2, baby. Let's go 2.
2. All right. Next week. And let me look this up real quick. Just 5 seconds.
Sure. Yeah.
Everyone, shut up.
Take your time.
So next week we are talking about the drama film that you and I were kind of discussing a little bit off mic a while back. One that is definitely kind of pigeonholed to its time when it was created.
Okay.
Next week we are talking about American Beauty.
Oh, cool. Okay. Cool. Sam Mendes.
Yeah. I have never seen this.
Okay.
All I know that it is widely regarded as one of the best films made from 1999. All I know is it's got Kevin Spacey in it. Wes Bentley's in it, and Peter Gallagher.
Chris Cooper.
Oh, Annette Bening's in it. Oh, my boy Chris Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm looking at the cast list and John Cho's in it. That's hilarious. But yeah, I know that this is a film that's been studied repeatedly because of the ending. Like, I think I looked it up a while back when I decided this was going to be on the list for this season.
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up and like I found I mean, maybe this isn't the best place to look it up, but I found a Reddit thread of people analyzing this movie and analyzing the ending and having very heated debates about it.
Of course. As one does.
And I was like, well, this makes me want to watch it. This makes me want to watch it even more now. Like, you've made the sale.
Yeah. You quit digging, you struck oil. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, are you excited for that?
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, it would be really cool. It'd be really interesting. By the way, there's a whole book that was written a few years ago about the films that came out in 1999. It's called Best Film Year Ever. Go check that out. You'll be astonished by how many movies came out that year and how many of them were great. So once you start thinking about it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that one is good. Oh, that one is good. Oh, so is that one. That one's significant. Oh my god, that one too? Yeah. So,
do you, before we sign off, do you want to know what 1 and 3 were?
Do kind of, yeah.
1 was Lost Highway.
Oh, okay.
And 3 was Under the Silver Lake.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Cool. I'm okay with myself.
But I mean, we're gonna get to those.
We'll get to those eventually. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode on La Casa Lobo, or the Wolf House, and we will see you next week for American Beauty, or the following
after Christmas.